Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. Number-based calculations and logic are common topic in coding interviews, and mastering them can give you an edge over other candidates. In this video, we are tackling 19 must-know number-based challenges that frequently appear in technical interviews and coding assessments. From checking if a number is even or odd to converting Roman numerals to integers and generating random numbers within a specified range, these problems will help you to sharpen your problem solving skills, improve your logical thinking, and prepare for the real world coding interviews. Whether you are preparing for the job interviews, coding contest, or just want to level up your JavaScript skills, this video has covered everything. So grab a notebook, follow along, and let's get started. And if you get stuck anywhere, drop a comment. I am here to help. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Code with Poonam for more awesome coding content. Let's proceed with the challenge. The first question, what is written? Write a JavaScript function that checks if a number is even or odd and logs the result. So let's break the question. Whenever you get a question, you need to break the question. So what is the first here? JavaScript function. You have to write this JavaScript function. Okay. Then you have to check whether the number is even or odd, right? So take this and write that as well. And what is the third thing they have said? Log the result, right? This is the third thing we have to do. Now, how to write a function that we know, right? Function name. Okay. So let us just write that function, and the function name we are going to create here is check even or odd, because it is similar to this, right? So check even odd, we can create it, and we know that whenever we create a function, invocation of a function is a must, right? So let us invoke this function, and what they said, the number. So let us pass the number to this function over here as an argument, and here we will receive it in the params, right? So I'll write here as a number. Now just console this number and just test whether we are able to receive it from here or not. So we'll come to the terminal and we will write node 01, and we will run it with our file name. You see 7. That means we are able to get it. So we have successfully written a JavaScript function. Now what is the second thing? Check if a number is even or odd. So how do we will check? To check this, we have to see whether the number is completely divisible by 2 or not, right? If it is divisible by 2, that means it is an even number. So by this, how can we test it? We can check with a if condition, right? So we are going to use a if condition over here. So if else statement we will use, and we will try to do that. So we'll write here if that number modulus of 2 is equal to 0, then I will just write here console.log, and we will write here number is even. Okay, let us just change this u also to a small, and then we can just write here the number as well. And in the else statement, we can just write here console.log number is odd, and that is where you will be able to get this even or odd. So if this will run if it is true, and you will get this as output. Otherwise the else part will run, and it will give this particular as an output. So let us see how it logs the result. So number is odd, which is that number 7, right? You can write a hyphen as well to get that over here. And now let us call this one more time, this particular function, by passing a 10. So if you see here, now it will go and it will give me what? 10. The number is even. So now we can just do one thing. We can just comment this console.log number, and we will just run this once again. And you get here number is odd 7, number is even 10. So we are successfully able to solve our first coding challenge question, that is write a function that checks if a number is even or odd, and we have logged the result as well. So we have broken down into 3 different parts, and we have solved it. Okay, I hope you all have understood this question. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is write a JavaScript function that checks if a given number is prime or not. So let's go to our VS Code and let's start solving this particular question. So if you see, the same question is mentioned over here as well. So if you see, let us break down this particular question. So it's written write a JavaScript function, right? So let us take this and let us come here and let us Write it over here, JavaScript function. And in the second part, you have seen here, what is it written? Check if a given number is prime or not. So we will take this particular thing and we will mention it over here that as well. So I'll come here and we'll mention it this over here. Now, since this function is related to a prime, let us write a function name is prime. Okay, is prime. Now here we come here. Now given number is prime or not, for that first we have to understand what is a prime number. So what is a prime number? A number which is divisible by itself and 1, right? By 1 and itself. And also number 1, okay, 1 is not a prime number. Okay, so we will write two conditions over here. So we will what do? First, let us understand and first let us write this particular function over here, and let us then we will go for this part as well. So let us write here function, and the function name is prime. Okay, so let us proceed here, and whenever we write a function invocation is must. So we will write the function and we'll invoke a function over here. Now the number which is being set, let us pass this function from here as an argument, and let us receive it over here as a param in a form of a number itself. Okay, so let us console this number and let us see whether we are able to accept this number which we are sending it from here or not. So we will come here, and what we will write in the terminal, we will write the node and our file name. So if you see, I got this 7. That means we are successfully able to accept whatever we are passing it through this. Okay, now the next thing is what we will write a condition for this. So we will what say that 1 is not a prime number, right? But less than 1 is also not a prime number, right? So what we will write here, if our number is less than or is equal to 1, then we will print here what? Console.log, whatever the number we are passing is not a prime number. Okay, now the next thing what we will do here is this one, a number which is divisible by 1 and itself, right, is a prime number. So we will reverse this. Well, we are putting here in the particular function, what we will do, we will write a condition for a number which is divisible. Okay, so we will take a loop. The loop will start from I is equal to 2. Okay, and after that what we will do, we will end up to a number less than 1. Okay, because the 1 and the particular number has to be divisible, right? So that is why we will start from 2 and a number less than. That is why I less than that number. Okay, and then we will run the loop. And we will come here, and in this we have to put one condition, that if that number is completely divisible by I, then it is not a prime number, right? So what we will do, if this number is completely divisible, that means modulus of I is equal to 0, then we will just print the same console.log, that number is not a prime number. Okay, and also we will terminate the loop by writing return as false. So we will write here return, and we will write here return false. This will terminate this particular if condition and the for loop. And if this is not getting satisfied, then what we are going to print, console.log number is a prime number. We will write it like this. Okay, now let us run it and test the particular thing once again. Now what happens here is, if I write 7, I am getting is a prime number. That means obviously this condition is failing because it is not less than 1 or 1. So it will come here. Now what it will do, the loop starts from 2. So number divisible by I. So that means 7 divisible by I, it is going to check. 7 modulus of I is equal to 0, it will check. And it finds out that it is not completely divisible. So it will terminate here, and this is going to get printed over here. Now suppose if you type here, if you once again invoke a function with a 10. So what it will happen now? Once again run it. This is accepting, that is why we are getting 10, and again we are getting that. Here we are getting 10 is not a prime number. Why we are getting it is not a prime number? Because if you come here, it is completely divisible, right, by 2. Then it mentions here it is not a prime number, and it terminates the loop and it brings the same thing over here as well. Okay, now what if you put is prime number and you pass a 2 over here? So in this case, what will happen now? In this, it will check here, it will I is equal to 2, it will come, and I less than a number, it will check. So it is 2 here itself. When we are running this here itself, the condition fails and it cannot do it, so it won't be passing over here and the loop will terminate. And that is where you get here as well 2 is a prime number. Now just for this part, what we will do, we will just comment this console and we will just we will put this P in capital, just the initial, so that we have is a prime number or not a prime number. This as well, let us make it here. Okay, and now let us save it and let us rerun this particular all this 3, and you get 7 is a prime, 10 is not a prime, 2 is a prime number. Okay, I hope you got this, right? Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is print the numbers from 1 to 100, but on the basis of certain conditions, right? Correct? So now what we'll do, let's move to our VS Code and let's start solving this. So this is the question which was there in the PowerPoint. So we will read out and let's break this question one after the another and let's solve it. So if you see here, we have to write a JavaScript function. So we will take a function, and this function is asking to print something related to fizz and buzz. So we will create a function here, FizzBuzz itself. Okay. And whenever we create a function, it is necessary to invoke it as well. So let us invoke this function. So we have invoked it successfully. Okay. So the first part of it we have done. Now, what is this question saying? We have to print from 1 to 100. So if we have to print from 1 to 100, it is very easy, right? What we have to take? We have to take a for loop, correct? So inside this function, let us take a for loop. So we'll take a for loop over here, and the for loop is going to start from what? 1, and where it will end? 100. So what we will do? We will write here, let I is equal to 1, and it will end at 100, right? And then we will increment this so that it will keep on incrementing. And in this, we are just going to test this function invocation and this loop is perfectly running fine or not. So in the right side, you see there is a terminal open. And what we will do here is we will type node and our file name. So node our file name, and if you see, we are able to execute this and we are getting 1 to 100 now. That means this function and this loop is successfully executed and it is running the way we want it. Now let us go to the next part of the question which they have said. They have said if it is multiple of 3, that means print fizz. That means a number is completely divisible. Right now, what is our number? Our number is nothing but the I, correct? So we have to write here I completely divisible, right? So modulus of 3 is equal to 0. This would be our condition, and if that is the case, then you have to print what? Fizz, right? Let us come here, and if it is completely divisible by 5, because it's a multiple of 5, that means it will be completely divisible by 5. Then we will what do? Then we will print our buzz, correct? That is what we are supposed to do. Now in the next part, what we have it over here now, they said if this number, whatever the number is, the number is multiple of both 3 and 5. That means I modulus of 3 also, correct? And I modulus of 5 also. If both of them we are getting it, if we have to print FizzBuzz, but what we have to use? Both, right? So we have to use a AND operator in between them. And if this condition is satisfied, it will be printing here FizzBuzz, right? So we will be printing this out. This is our question. Now in this is a tricky question, guys. What part is tricky, you know, that if anyone comes up, what they will think, let's start from top to bottom. If you see, suppose you take a number 3. Okay, if you take a number 3, then it is okay. For a 3, it will not have, it will just print fizz. For a number 5, because it is a multiple, right? So it will print buzz. But for a number, if it is 15, and if you're starting from top to bottom, so this is a multiple of 3 also, and it is a multiple of 5 also. So in this case, what will happen? It will encounter that it is a multiple of 3, and it will print the fizz here. Whereas our condition is little different. If it is a multiple of both, then it should not print this fizz. What it should print? It should print FizzBuzz, right? So that is where we are going to start this bottom to top instead of starting from top to bottom. So let us see this. So for a time being, I will just comment this console.log and we will execute our code here. We'll start writing our code here. Now, what is the thing? What you are going to take? We have written down the conditions, right? So what will help us to write the particular this conditions? What we have to take? We will have to take here if, correct, if condition we are going to take, but along with the if condition, since there are 2-3 conditions, we will be taking if, else if, and the last one will be our else part. Got it? So here first condition, we are going to put this one. In the second part, we are going to put either of them. And the third part, if we are taking, we are putting here in else if modulus of 3, then we will put here modulus of 5. And if none of the condition will match, it will go to the else part and it will be executed. So let's see here. So now what we will do, if, correct, and we will write here what? I modulus of 3 is equal to 0 and operator. And what we will have here, I modulus of 5 is equal to 0. Then we will print what? Console.log of, we have to print FizzBuzz. So let us take it from here and I'll put it here and we will print this. Then as I said, next condition can be either of them. So we will write here else if part, and then what we will write? I modulus of 3 or 5, whatever you can take it. Since we are going in a order from bottom to top, let us take I modulus of 5 is equal to 0, and we want buzz. So console.log, and we are going to write here buzz. Okay. Now what is the next part? Again, one more else if we will take, and what is left out now? I modulus of 3 is equal to 0, and then we have to print here what? Console.log, and we will print here what? Fizz, right? And if none of the conditions are matching, then you are going to print here else. And what is the printing comes here? Just the number we have to print. So we will print our I. Okay. Now let us execute and see whether it is working fine or not. So we will save this particular code and we will come here in the last. Let us clear the screen and once again run this. So node and our file name, that is 03. And if you see here, we are getting FizzBuzz everywhere, right? FizzBuzz and FizzBuzz together. Let us see this, what we are able to get it. See, the way I told you, for a 3, we should get fizz. For a 5, we are getting buzz because this is a multiple of 3. This is multiple of 5, right? But if we come here for a 15, it is a multiple of both 3 and 5. So we are getting FizzBuzz, correct? Because it is first checking this condition and then it is going to the other conditions. If you don't start from bottom to top, it will test your modulus of 3, modulus of 5, and then other modulus, right? And then we will not get the desired output. So this was a slightly tricky where they mentioned the question like this, but you have to start writing the question from bottom to top. Okay, so this is what we have get it over here. And if I have to recap it here once again, what we have done, we have found out first the modulus of 3 and 5 together, that is multiples of 3 and 5 both. It is printing our FizzBuzz here, and then we have the rest of the conditions printing as per the desired thing, fizz and buzz. Okay, so this is what is there, and if you run it, you get this particular code executed here successfully. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is to find out a sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified limit. Okay, so let's move to a VS Code and let's start solving this question. So if you see, this question is already mentioned over here. So let's break down this particular question first. As we follow this the same, right? We break down the question every time. So let's break down the question. So what we'll do is write a JavaScript function. So what we'll do, take this JavaScript function and write it over here. Now what is the next thing? Calculate the sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified limit. So let us take this out and paste it here as well. So we'll put it here. Now let us understand it. JavaScript function, it is related to some even numbers, right? Sum. So let us create a function related to this itself. So I'll write here sum even numbers. Okay. Let us create a function like this, and sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified limit. Now if you see here, from 1 to a limit, that means to a specific number which we are going to provide. So 1 to a number, right? So that means it is going to start from 1 to that number. So that means what we will have to take here, again we will have to take a for loop, correct? And what is here, then we have to take a for loop, and then we have to check whether it is an even number or not, right? If you see in the previous videos, I have explained what is an even number and how can you calculate the even number. So do watch out that video as well. Here as well, once again I'll explain. So what is an even number? Any number which is completely divisible by 2 is an even number. So what operator you will use? You will use a modulus operator, right? And if we are using a for loop, our number will be what? Our number will be I. So I modulus of 2 is equal to 0, and where we have to put this condition, we are going to put it inside a if condition, right? So we will have a function, then a for loop, and inside a for loop this if condition, which will be testing this particular condition over here. Okay, so let's start solving over here. So we will write a function and a function name. What is a function name? We have decided some even number. So let us give it over here and let us call this function. So whenever we create a function, it is necessary to invoke a function. So I will just invoke a function over here, and we want to find to a specified limit, right? So that limit, let us pass it from here. So what I will do, suppose I pass here as a 6. So now when we are passing here as an argument, let us receive it as a parameter over here. Now you can write a limit or you can write a number, whatever name you want to give it over here, you can give. Since we are following again and again number in the previous video, so let us stick to the number itself. And now let us just write here console.log number, and we will just test this whether we are able to access this number which we are passing it from here or not. So let us come here. How we will run this particular file? We will write a node and our file name. So node and 05, right, is our file name. 05 challenge question. So let us run it. Yes, I am able to get it over here. So that means 6, I am able to get it. Now let us comment this out. And now what is the next thing we are going to do? We are going to run a loop, correct? So from 1 to that number. So that number is nothing but this. So what we will do, we will take a for loop and we will write let I is equal to 1. We will start from 1 because it is saying from 1 to a specified limit, right? So from 1, and then we will end up where? To that number. So less than or is equal to number, and we will keep incrementing this, correct? And now what we will do, let us just print our I and check whether our loop is running properly or not. So come in the terminal and run our file. If you see here, okay, it's console.log. So we have to just change this to console, and we'll come here and we will clear the terminal. And if you see here, we get 1 to 6 over here. So we are able to successfully able to run this particular thing. Now what we will do here, the next thing what we will do, we have to check, right? So we will have to write a if condition over here. So we will write here if, and then what we will do inside if, we will check our number, which is nothing but the I, modulus of 2 is equal to 0, and if this is there, give me just the I will just write right now, give me the I. So I'm writing it over here. Now if you just, and we will comment this console.log of I, which we have written here, right? Now what we will do, we will just print this. We are able to get the even numbers. That means we are successfully able to execute and we are able to find out the even numbers. But our question is find out the sum, right? We have to get the sum. So what we will do, we will come here and we will take one variable. So we will take one variable. So let us assume we want to store all the sum, whatever it has been calculated, and we will store it into a variable called as a sum, and we will initialize with 0. Okay, and what we will do here, then we will come here and we will write sum is equal to sum plus of I. So whenever the loop runs, what will happen in this sum, again and again it will get, whenever this loop is going to run, it will test it, it will add up, and it will update the sum value, which we are going to get it over here, right? And then what we will do, we will console our sum outside the loop, so that we get our final value, which is being stored inside our sum. So I will come here and I will write what, console.log of sum over here. And if you see, now let us just test it in our terminal. If you see here, I get 246 because I have consoled this as well, and we are getting the sum as well, because 2 plus 4 is 6 and 6 plus 6 is 12. So we are able to get the addition of all the even numbers, right? Now I'll comment this out, and once again I will run in the terminal. You will see I will get this 12 over here. Now in this, one more improvisation we can do it over here. What we will do, let us comment this, and what we will do, we will come here and we will write sum plus is equal to of I. What we will write, sum plus is equal to of I. That means what? This means the same thing which we have written here. Sum plus is equal to of I means what? Sum is equal to sum plus I. This means the same thing. If you run it once again and if you write it here, you will see the 12 coming up here once again. So that means this both means the same. You write this or you write this, it is the same. So what we will do, we will write, this is the most preferable one. This is the most preferable one. So we will keep this, okay? So we will keep this sum plus is equal to I itself. And when you invoke this, you are going to get this. Now suppose let us clear our terminal once again. And let us write here sum of even numbers and let us pass 45. Okay. And now let us come here and let us once again run this file. So I will get 12 and 506. That means we are able to easily calculate our sum of even numbers. Now, one last thing we will do it. Let us improvise this console.log statement as well. So what they have written here, we will use a template literals and we will just write here sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified, right? So to a specified limit, right? What is the limit? Our limit is nothing but our number. We are storing inside a number. So we will pass this number and we will write here is, and if you see here, and if you save it and if you run once again in our terminal like this, we can see easily that we are able to get it over here. Let us run it, node, and our file name, which is 05. And if you see this, I can easily, you can see here, easily it is getting printed in one line. That is sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified number 6 is 2. And here sum of all the even numbers from 1 to a specified 45 is 506. If you want to make it, you can write here specified number, that is okay, or you can remove this. So we can write here specified number is, and once again, if you test it, you will get the properly over here as well. So let us run it once again. You see specified 6 number is 12, right? So sum of, if you don't want to give this number, if you don't want to give this specified, you can remove that as well. So from 1 to a number, that also looks better. Okay. So we can keep this here and we can come here, and once again, let us come in the terminal and let us run our file here, node, and this, if you get sum of all the even numbers from 1 to 6 is 12, sum of all the even numbers from 1 to 45 is 506. So whatever we write it, we can easily get it in our console, right? So this is what is there here, how to write it and how here it is there. I've explained you. Once again, let us have a recap over here. So what we have done, write a JavaScript function that calculates sum of all the even numbers. For that, we have taken a function name related to our question itself. And then we have taken a loop which is going to run from 1 to a specified limit, correct? And then what we have done, for checking a even number, we have taken a if condition with a modulus operator, which will test whether that number is completely divisible by 2 or not. After that, it will, what we will do, whatever the numbers we are getting it over here, we are going to create one variable known as a sum, and in that we will start adding it up and storing the addition of all the numbers over here which we are getting from this particular point, right? And then what we will do, and after the loop terminates, we want to print it over here. So we have just printed over here, and we have used the template literals, and we are printing it nicely over here by mentioning that sum of all the even numbers from 1 to that number is whatever the output we get it, we have stored it in a sum. So we have written here sum, correct? Now what we do it in the end, what we have done, we have invoked that function, and whatever the number we want to do it, we are passing it from here. So we can pass it one more number, sum of even numbers, and if I pass 10, and you will get here that as well. So let us run one more time and test it with this. You see here I get 30, right? So from 1 to 10, the addition of all the even numbers is what? 30, correct? So that's it. What we have solved this particular question successfully. Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is write a JavaScript function that calculates the sum of odd numbers in a given range. Okay, so let's move to our VS Code and let's start coding. So if we see here, we have here the question is mentioned, write a JavaScript function that calculates the sum of odd numbers in a given range. So now what we shall do it over here, let us break down this particular question. So if we see here, we have to write a JavaScript function. So let us write it down here. And then we have to calculate the sum of all odd numbers in a given range. So here it is not from 1 to any specified or anything. Whatever the range will be given, from that range we will have to calculate, and we will have to find out the odd numbers, and then we will have to sum up, and then we will have to print the output. So if you see the right side, the terminal is already open, so we will execute our code over here. Okay, now let us understand this. First of all, since we have to get the sum of odd numbers, so what we will do here is, let us create a function that is sum odd numbers like this. Let us create it like this. Okay, so the function name will be sum odd numbers. Okay, now, and we can write here sum odd numbers range, because it is going to be, let us add range as well, because it will be in a given range. So sum odd numbers range, let us keep this function name like this. And now let us come here. Okay, now sum of all numbers in a given range means we will be given with what? The starting range and the ending range. So there will be some start point and there will be some end point as well. So because there is a range, right? So we will have to start from somewhere and we will have to end it somewhere. Let us assume if our start is 5, suppose, or 6, whatever we can take it. Let us assume our start is 5 and the end is at 20. So we will have to find out the odd numbers from this particular range, and then we will have to go where? Then we will have to put that condition for checking the odd numbers. So what we will be doing it over here is, so we will have to take a loop again over here. Okay, so we will be taking a for loop, and I will start from our start point, and it will end where? It will end because within a specified limit, right? So it is going to end where? It will end at a end point, okay? And then as usual, we will have to increment it, okay? So then after the loop is completed, what we will have to do inside the loop? Now in the loop, we will see and we will check that out, how it is getting up printed in the terminal, in the console as well. Once we have written down the loop, what we are going to do now here, inside this loop, we have to test the condition, right? Now what will be the condition will be coming here? That if our number, okay, what is the number right now? Number will be what? I, correct? So our I modulus of, it should not be completely divisible by 2, right? So modulus of 2 not is equal to 0, correct? So if it is not is equal to 0, that means it is not completely divisible by 2, then it's an odd number. This again I have explained in the previous videos, so please go and watch my previous videos as well. In that you will get a in detail description about odd and even numbers, okay? So if you see here, what we have to do, if we want to find out the odd numbers, okay, if we want to find out the odd numbers, what we will have to do? I modulus of 2 which is not is equal to 0, that will be our odd number, okay? So first we have to take a loop which will be running within that range, and inside that we are going to test this condition, okay? So now let's move ahead. And now what we will do, we will create a function, okay? And function name, we are going to keep this itself. So we will write the function name, this one. And as soon as you write the function, it is very necessary to invoke a function. So we will invoke this some odd number range, okay? And we have to mention our start point and end point. So let us assume that the start point and end point, we will be sending it from this function as an argument. So suppose our start point, we can declare a variable here itself, or we can directly pass it here itself, okay? So let us assume, as we have taken 5 and 20, so let us take our start point will be 5 and our end point will be 20. So we are passing here from here as an argument, and we will receive it over here. So let us receive here as a start and an end, okay? So 5 will be what? Start, and our end will be what? 20. Okay, so we have successfully done this. And now if you want to just test our function is running perfectly or not, what we will do, we will write here start and we will write here end. And now if you come here, let us run our file, okay? So we will write here node and we will write our file name, that is 06. And if you see here, I get 5 and 20, correct? So we are able to get here 5 and 20. Okay, now what is the next thing? Now let us comment it over here. Since we have to find out the odd numbers within a specified range, that is between 5 and 20, what we will do here now? We will take our for loop, right? So for loop, let I is equal to the start point. It will not start with 0, not start with 1. What is the specified range here? This is the start point, right? 5. So I will write here I is equal to start, and then it is going to end where? It is going to end at the end point, that is 20. So I will mention here I is less than or is equal to end, and we have to increment this, right? And now let us come here and just console our I. Let us see what we get. So we should get it from 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that, okay? So now let us come here and just run it once again in our terminal. So we'll come here and we'll write here node 06. And if you see, we are getting from 5 to 20. So we have successfully executed our for loop correctly, okay? That means within a specified range, now we are able to run this particular loop. Now what we will do, we are going to test this particular condition inside this, correct? So we will comment this out now, and we will come here and we will write what? If condition. And what we are going to do, I modulus of 2 not is equal to 0, you will write here. And then what we will write here, we just let us write console.log of I, okay? What we will write here, we will just make it console.log of I. And now let us just test once again. So we will come here node 0, 6, and if you all see here, we get the odd numbers here, right? 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19. This is between 5 and 20. Okay, this is between 5 and 20. We are able to get the odd numbers. Now what we have to do now, what is the next thing? It is just not displaying the odd numbers, but we have to calculate the sum, right? We have to calculate the sum. So what we will do, we will come here and we will take one variable. So let us assume that variable as sum, and sum is equal to 0. It will be initialized with 0 because whenever you add up to this, it will be adding up with the 0. So it will not change our number. Okay, then what we will do now, let us comment here, and what we are going to do, we will do here sum is equal to sum plus I. So we will add up, and what we will do, whatever the value comes up, it will store it inside the sum itself. So the how it will be 0 plus 5, correct? Then after that 5 plus 7, in the next iteration it will come and it will give here in this if condition, what it will be, 5 plus 7. Like this it will go and store the final value inside the sum, and once the loop terminates, I want this sum value, right? So I will print here console.log sum outside here. Okay, now once again let us clear the terminal, and once again let us write our node and 0, 6, and if you see here I get 96. That is addition is what? Addition is what? 96. So we are able to get it properly here. Now this can be written in another way as well. So let us see that as well. So what we will do here, we will what do sum, and what we have to write, plus is equal to I. Okay, this is similar to sum is equal to sum plus I. This is similar to what? Sum is equal to sum plus I. When you write sum plus is equal to I, it is nothing but you are adding this to a sum variable itself. Okay, so now if you save it once again and if you run it again, you will see you get 96 again over here. Got it? So that is what we are able to get it. Now let us once again invoke a function and let us change the range and see. So suppose we take a range from 8 to 15, if suppose we take, and let us come here and let us run it once again and test it. We are able to get 48. So that means it is successfully running this particular thing, right? Now what we will do, let us just improvise this one console.log statement. So what I will do, I will put this in a template syntax. Okay, template literals I will put it, and I'll write here the sum of all the odd numbers. Okay, we have here, right, the sum of odd numbers in a given range. So let us take it. We can write it like this. And if you see here, we have written in a given range. Now, what is that range? So what I will write it, sum of all the numbers between, okay, I'll write between, and I'll write here what? Start, and I'll write here and end. Okay. So if you all see here, and now let us test it. What do we get it in the console? Let us see here, and we can put here colon as well. Okay, now let us see how do we get it in the console. So I'll write here node 0, 6 challenge, and if you see I am able to get, if you see sum of all the odd numbers between 5 and 20 is 96, and sum of all odd numbers between 8 and 15 is 48, correct? So we have successfully executed this, and we have successfully able to get all the sum of odd numbers within a given range. Okay, so you can define any range and you can execute this function. You will get a proper output over here. Okay, so if I have to wrap up this, what we have done here, we have created a function with this particular name because this name was being suggested from here itself, sum of all the odd numbers in a range. That is why we have taken this particular function name. And since they are saying a range, so we have specified the start and end point, correct? And then what we are doing it, we have initialized a variable with a 0. Okay, so that whenever we add up, it will store up in this. And then we have run a for loop, The for loop starts from the start point and ends at the end point. We are incrementing it up, and then we are testing that whether it is an odd number or not. If it is an odd number, we will just add up to this particular sum variable, correct? And then once the loop is terminated, we will print our sum over here. So we get here what? Sum of all the odd numbers between our start and the end, and we are printing our sum. And here we are just invoking the function of this with passing a specified range, that is the start point and the end point. Okay, got it? Let's move to our next challenge, and this challenge is write a JavaScript function that takes a number and prints its multiplication table from 1 to 10 or 1 to 12, right? So we have to solve this particular challenge today. So let's move to our VS Code and let's begin with this question. Now, if you see here, this question is already mentioned here, right? So now let's break down this question. Okay, so what it is written? Write a JavaScript function. So we will take this and we will put it over here, correct? And now what is the next thing they have said? Take a number and print its multiplication table. So we have to take any number and we can print its multiplication table, correct? Now, what is the next thing they have said? From 1 to 10 or 1 to 12, right? So come here, and now since this particular function is related to generation of a multiplication table, so let us write here a function name as a generate table itself. Okay, so let us come here and we will write here generate table. Okay, now what we will do it here now, let's go to the next line. What is written? Number, take a number and prints its multiplication table, correct? Now what is a table? What is a multiplication table? Let us assume 2 we are taking. Okay, then how we are going to write the table of this particular number? It will be 2 times of 1 is 2, then 2 times of 2 is 4, and then so on, and it can go till 10 because they have said 1 to 10, right? So what we will do? 2 times 10 is equal to 20, and either it can be what? 2 times 12, right, is equal to 2 times 12 is equal to 24, correct? So this is what we have here, correct? Now what is the next thing? So this is what is a table. Now in this, what do we see here? We see here 2 is stagnant everywhere, right? 2 is not changing anywhere. That is what is a number, correct? The number 2 for which we are going to create or generate a table. Now what is changing then? It is changing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this, right? And it is still going till 10. So it is again a range, correct? So for that purpose, we are going to take again a for loop, right? And in this for loop, what we will write? Where it will start and where it will end this for loop? It will start at what? I will start at 1 for sure, correct? Then where it will end? It will end to this particular range, right? Either it will be at less than or is equal to 10, or either it will be what? I is less than or is equal to 12, correct? It will start and end at this point. Now let's write the function here. So function generate table, and since we have written this function, let us invoke it. Okay, and now for whatever the number we are going to generate a table, let us pass it from here. Since we have assumed 2, let us assume it 2 over here. Okay, so I'm passing over here as an argument. Let us receive it over here. So I will write here what? Number, correct? And then let us write here console.log number, and let us just test it whether this function is working fine for us or not. So let us come here, and what we will do, we will write here node, and we will write our file name, that is day 7. And if you see, I get here 2. That means this function is successfully executed, correct? Now after this, what we will do here is, now we have to take a for loop, right? So inside this, we will take a for loop. So for a time being, let us comment out this, and what we will write here, we will take a for loop and we will write here let I is equal to 1, correct? It will start at 1, and then I is less than or is equal to 10. So it will end at 10, right? And then we will increment this by 1 again and again. So that is why I plus plus. Now I will just write here console.log I, and let us test our for loop is also working fine or not. So let us come here and let us write here node, and we will write 07. And if you see, I am able to get from 1 to 10. That means my loop is also working fine. Okay. Now what is the next thing we will do? Now if you see, I get 1 to 10. Now what is this? In this line number 7, which we have written the table, what is there? The number is repeated, right? Which number? The 2 number is getting again and again repeated everywhere. So what we will do here is, we will write here number, and then we will write here times of I, correct? And now let us test it once again. If you see here, you get here 2, 4, 6, 8 till 20. That means we are successfully able to execute it, right? Now suppose one more time you invoke this function and pass another number. Let us see, because it takes a number and it will print that number multiplication table, right? So that means here, if I pass here generate table of 5, and if I see here, then what we will get here, let us see. I get 2 times table as well, and we are getting 5 time table also, right? So we are able to execute this very correctly, right? Now what we will do, let us improvise this line as well. Okay, so what we will do here, how we will improvise it now, what we will have to write it here now. Let us take a template literals. Okay, and in this let us write here what we have to find out. Like this we will try to mention it over here. Okay, so then what is this? This is dollar, flower braces and number, and then I will put here what, space, and then cross I will put, that is our X. Okay, this I will put it. Now then what I will write here, I, correct? And then what we will come here, we'll put is equal to, and just let us run it and see what do we get it. Okay, so we have written number times of I, and then number in multiplied by I, correct? Now let us just clear the console. Okay, and let us run it one more time. Okay, and I will comment this out for a time being, and we will uncomment this later on. Okay, now if you see here, what do we get? We get it successfully, this particular same, right? 2 times 1, 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and then so on, we are getting it till 20. Okay, now if you see here, if we wanted this 12, then what we would have to do, we will have to change this loop, right? We will have to change the end point here. So what we will put, I will just put here 12, and if you run this particular code now once again, you will get till 12. So that means at any point of time, if you change the end point, you will get the table till that particular number, correct? Now what we can do it, I will just comment this out. Okay, I'll just take here and I will just comment this out. For example, if you want to run this 12, use this particular line, or if you want to run this till 10, you can use this particular line. Whatever is convenient for you, you can use it. Okay, and let us run it once again. Now you see I got this till 10. Okay, now one more improvisation, let us do it. If I just uncomment this out, okay, what do I get? Let us see here. Okay, let me just once again clear the terminal, and if you see here, if I run this particular code again, you get here 2, right? And then the 2 times table, correct? So what I can do here is, here also I will add a template literals, and I will write here table of, that's it. I will write here what, table of. Okay, and then whatever the number is, we are already getting it, right? Then let us come here and let us rerun it here. You see table of 2, and we have here table of 2, right? And now if you invoke